Season 3 of The Mandalorian wasn't bad, not by a long shot, especially not the last few episodes. But there was something off about it. Now naturally a lot of people have picked up on this, and it's because it did feel disjointed at points. It did feel like things were just kind of happening, and while the last few episodes do tie it up quite a lot, there are still some things that stick out like a sore thumb, like that whole episode based around Dr. Pershing. Now personally, I really liked that episode. It felt very Andor to me, but it didn't exactly gel with the rest of the series, and I think that's simply because originally it wasn't meant to. Now, however long ago it was, they announced a whole slew of new Star Wars series, including Ahsoka, Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, and Rangers of the New Republic, which was supposed to be led by Gina Carano. But then things, as they always do, happened, and she was kind of unceremoniously fired. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of it all because no, but suddenly pulling away someone who's supposed to be the main character in this new series going forward has got to be one hell of a headache for Jon Favreau. I mean, by that point you have to imagine that they had a story idea already worked out. I mean, what's being tentatively termed the Mandoverse is very much MCU in its development, meaning that they've got story ideas planned for years down the road. So suddenly having to rework, or even as it appears to be, pull entirely a whole series like Rangers of the New Republic is gonna cause some problems. So what I think's happened is that they've taken the ideas that they had for Rangers of the New Republic, especially the plot points which were gonna heavily tie into series going forward, such as potentially Ahsoka, being that you had very Imperial focused elements and what with Thrawn coming back and everything, and they've had to incorporate that into Mando just so that the plot points exist somewhere in this universe, so that it makes sense when we see what they lead up to in later shows. And on that note, about Zeb. Zeb in Mando, even for that little cameo, looked fantastic. Now obviously he's going to be coming back in Ahsoka because that's basically like a Rebels sequel series. But I kind of get the impression he was supposed to be at least a secondary character, at the very least, in Rangers of the New Republic. Like potentially they wanted to introduce Rebels characters into live action slowly, so that it wasn't jarring for people who hadn't seen Rebels when all these new characters turn up in Ahsoka. Also, I don't think they've just taken the main plot points from Rangers and kind of crowbarred them into Mando. I think Mando is going to be, to some extent, Rangers of the New Republic, especially being that Mando basically works for the New Republic now. At the end of Season 3, spoilers, he goes and says, I'm going to work for you. And that scene kind of felt not tacked on, but it felt like an addition to what had happened in that episode. Almost like Mando himself is going to be the stand-in for Cara Dune. Because as I say, they've probably got like stories already planned out, plots going forward. So not only can those plot points be hit without as much clunkiness as they were in Season 3 of the Mando, but they can recycle story ideas that they had for Rangers of the New Republic and just have them as Mando episodes. And I get the feeling that Series 4 is going to be a lot more standalone episode-y, similar to how Series 1 was, especially for like the first half of the season. And I'm not averse to that. I mean, when it started to get serialized, like more so, it's harder to go back to standalone episodes. I mean, we had that problem with The Bad Batch. I mean, I'm not slating The Bad Batch because it's brilliant, but you have got this main storyline going through it, and it feels like the episodes which are standalone, as good as they are, kind of feel like it kind of feels like you're just waiting for them to get back to the main story. So that's kind of like the risk you run. But being that like the Series 3 of the Mando, similar in a lot of ways to Season 2, kind of wrapped it up, and that could be a complete series closer. Kind of gives it a benefit because it's almost like a soft reboot. Like if Mando Season 2 had been the last ever episode of the Mando, I would be like, that's a great way to go out. If the last episode of Season 3 had been the very last episode with that ending, I would have been, okay, that's a good way to go out. Kind of reminds me of when they were making Stargate SG-1 and they never knew whether they were going to get another season or not, so they made every season finale a series finale. As it turned out with SG-1, it went in completely the opposite direction, and even on the actual series finale, they still got renewed, and as a result, Season 9 and 10 were not very good. Anyway, that's another video for another time. So yes, we've gone from the position of The Mandalorian being one of the best TV shows on to it not being bad, not by a long shot, but it kind of feeling not itself. So be sure to let me know what you thought of season 3 of the Mando and what you think that the future holds for the Mandoverse and adjacent properties. Also let me know if you think the cloning arcs from the Bad Batch and Mando are connected, because I'm pretty sure they have to be at some point, and then it's not just two entirely different teams having a similar plot going on. I mean, Dave Filoni's pretty much the overseer of it all, so he has to have some kind of idea about it all coming together at some point, and the Emperor's cloning plan has been that long in development. Anyway, yeah, why not subscribe if you liked my ranting, and I'll see you next time.